for clients that I have worked with who have daughters, they will come to me and be like, my daughter's going through this, my daughter's going through that. She's hanging out with this kind of guy. She's doing this, she's doing that. And it's like, okay, what's going on with you? Mama, what's going on with you? Because what's happening with her is a direct reflection of what's going on with you. Peace and prosperity. This is Asaya, and welcome back to Earth's Feminine. This is the channel where you can come to learn all about primal feminine energy before all of the conditioning and colonization that has been done to women, and the way that we understand the feminine energy of this planet. And today I want to talk to you guys about generational curses and how to break toxic relationship cycles, and how I got to a point in my life where I realized that I had completely mimicked my mom's relationship patterns and my mom's relationship cycle to an absolute perfection. And now at this point in my life, I've been able to clearly see what it was that happened within my childhood, the dynamics that I had with my mom, everything about my rearing that ultimately led to me making the same decisions around the types of men that I attracted and chose to be intimate with and chose to share my sacred feminine energy with. From my recent videos, I have been obviously being very, very vulnerable with you all and sharing a lot about my past with experiencing narcissistic abuse and narcissistic personality disorder in my family life, and also in my intimate relationships. I had one specific intimate relationship that was, I would consider, a very toxic, very, very toxic relationship. I had never experienced a relationship as toxic and volatile and manipulative. Like, it just was the creme de la creme of psychological abuse. That was a huge part of me waking up to the fact that I had a lot of trauma. Like, I had a lot of trauma that wasn't just from this relationship, but I had a lot of trauma from my family, from growing up, and the relationship dynamics I had with my fathers. And I say fathers because I have a stepfather, and I also have a biological father, obviously. And all of that went into a melting pot of like, this is how subconsciously you are to be loved. This is how subconsciously I am thinking to myself, like, this is how relationships are. This is how relationships should be. And so when I ended up becoming pregnant with my daughter and having my daughter and going through the toxicity of being in a relationship with someone who does have narcissistic personality disorder, I literally looked at my life. I just got to a point after I had my daughter where I looked at my life and I remembered my mom's life. I remember my mom's past. I mean, just with me being raised by her, and how I had completely just repeated that same cycle of attracting someone that was not capable of love, into my life, and having that do a number on my self-esteem, having that do a number on my confidence. Now, years later, after I had accepted that that was the reality for me, and I also decided to do my necessary healing work through my body and energetically, I've gotten to a point where now that I see in my daughter's world, like, I see how this cycle can repeat itself or has the possibility to repeat itself. And I've also been noticing how my daughter has recently been attracting friends that have these kind of characteristics, slight characteristics of narcissistic personality disorder, or, you know, being very controlling or just being really mean. I was noticing that some kids, when we would be playing on the park, would just like call her a name or something like that for no legit reason. Like, they're just mean to her, you know, just because she's happy, jovial, enjoying herself. And recently I've been noticing how it's actually in her friendships. I'm seeing little signs and little things of like how her friends can just be really controlling and really mean, and all of these things that correlate to these early signs of children having narcissistic personality disorder. Since I've been seeing those early signs, it's also caused me to look in the mirror at how I am parenting and how I am raising my daughter. Because a lot of times we think as a parent or as a mom that we're perfect. Actually, I know a lot of moms who they fall along this spectrum because they are maybe a single mom or put in this more masculine role or masculine position, that, you know, they are perfect. They can do no wrong because they're literally providing for their child and making sure that they have food to eat, like basic survival things, where they're like, how dare you, you know, think that I am a bad parent? Like, I've sacrificed everything for you, right? There's that area where I see moms can fall into this category. And then there's this category of, because you have been through so much in your own childhood, that you're like doing your very best to not repeat those patterns. And really what you end up doing is you end up not parenting your child the way they need to be parented. Just basically end up not giving that child the real parenting that they need because you're so worried about making a mistake in the way that you are parenting them. Like in my case, maybe you're not like working super hard and driving yourself to the bone and doing all these masculine things, so you can't create the space to really focus on your parenting skills. But maybe you are in a place where you are just wanting to revive your own life and you're super self-focused. I know for me personally, I had been really I just reflected and realized how I had been extremely self-focused, which I needed to be at a certain point. But being in that self-focus for so long caused me to not really pay attention to how I was parenting and how I was raising my child. Just because you have a baby and give birth to a child doesn't necessarily make you a good parent. Instinctually, we know how to have the basics down. But when it comes to patterns that we have in our relationships, that our moms had, that people in our family have had, one of my daughter's friends that to me seemed to carry a lot of these personality traits that were like the beginning stages of narcissism. I remember having a deep conversation with her mom about how not her, but her mom. So basically my daughter's friend's grandmother was extremely narcissistic to her mom. And she would tell me, like basically how traumatic that was on her. And I'm just sitting here like, well, your daughter has a lot of these traits, you know what I'm saying? So where do we take accountability? Where do we realize, like, yeah, I went through something, but like if I don't realize what it is about me that can change, or what it is about me energetically that attracted this situation, that attracted this experience into my life. Yes, a lot of people believe that we're born into families and we're born into situations that are just completely like out of our control. And I believe that to a degree, on a conscious level, yes. But on a soul level, when you think about yourself existentially and you give yourself that power back in knowing that you actually did decide to come here, you weren't an accident, nobody brought you here against your will, your parents didn't bring you here against your will. You could have easily been like, you know what, I'm out, and your mom could have miscarried for some weird reason. We chose to come here. We chose to experience this life and this reality. So yeah, with that, there is a certain level of responsibility and accountability that we have to take for the experiences that we manifest in our lifetime, okay? And say, you know what? I believe that this experience was here to show me that in my life and in my bloodline, there is this energetic signature of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, feeling unlovable, right? And so that's the energetic part of it. But then there's the actual logical and practical part of it, where we come in and we see the things that we're doing that are out of alignment with loving ourselves correctly. Because as I talked about in my previous video, how your true self is the medicine you've been waiting for. Narcissism is a global problem. Like it's everywhere now. It's a global issue. And a lot of people are having to heal from it now in this day and age. When you have toxic relationship patterns in your family, in your intimate relationships, anything like that, you have to see. And so this is what I was able to do, is I was able to see how I was being raised, how I was raised in a way that communicated you're unworthy, that communicated to me growing up, you're not beautiful, you're this, you're that. It's all of these different subconscious messages just based off of how somebody chooses to raise you and bring you up in this world. So a really good blog that I came across that really helped me to see specific patterns and specific ways my parents raised me and just all the details of parenthood. I found a blog called, actually I can't remember what it's called, but I'm going to put it in the description and probably in the video, that just breaks down like the worst ways that you could parent your child, the best ways that you could parent your child, and how to strengthen bonds in your relationships with specifically for your family. And it was like in me having this desire for my daughter to not have this relationship pattern of being walked all over, or people being mean to them, or not accepting that in your friendships or not even attracting that type of thing. In my desire to write that, I ended up discovering and realizing all the ways that I was raised that planted in my subconscious that I should be with someone who treats me like this, right? Because my parents treated me this way. Not intentionally, but they went through their own stuff. They went through their own trauma. And they never learned, what the actual issue was, what the reason was why they, or specifically for my mom, like why my mom attracted certain kinds of relationships, and a lot of it is really, it's gonna always boil down to mama and papa. It's gonna boil down to the first relationship that you ever get to see in this world, that you ever get to have in this world. That first relationship with your family and with your parents and with the people that are supposed to love you and show you what love is. And that's exactly what I mentioned in my previous video, is that a lot of people don't know what love is. And this is why, because we move on, we go through what we went through in our childhood, and then we go into adulthood and we think that everything's honky-dory because we're not there anymore. We're not with those people anymore. And sometimes for a lot of people, they still are dealing with those people. But it's like, then we end up manifesting these toxic partners or these toxic relationships. Then we end up manifesting these toxic friendships and these toxic work relationships. And all of these things are just trying to get us to remember how to love ourselves and how to heal those wounds from when we were young. That is how I am currently, and how I feel like I have broken so much of my toxic relationship patterns, and am breaking those patterns for my daughter so that she knows that she does not have to deal with any kind of abuse and any kind of, anything from friendships. Mainly it's just friendships, right? Like, but when she gets older, it's like you don't have to deal with that from anyone, because she remembers, mommy loves me like this. Mommy treats me like this. So why would I be friends with someone who treats me this way? Mommy treats me like this, Same thing for, the relationships that she sees me enter into. Or a lot of this stuff is so energetic. It's not necessarily something that she even needs to see, but it's just an energy that I emanate, a love for myself that I emanate, that she energetically will pick up on that. For clients that I have worked with who have daughters, they will come to me and be like, my daughter's going through this, my daughter's going through that. She's hanging out with this kind of guy. She's doing this, she's doing that. And it's like, okay, what's going on with you? Mama, what's going on with you? Because what's happening with her is a direct reflection of what's going on with you. And a lot of mothers don't see themselves as intrinsically connected to their child. It's unfortunate, but that's one of the mentalities that has colonized us out of really understanding the depth that a mother has over her children, and that a woman has over this planet. It's like, in the focus becoming completely on the child, it's almost like we forget about mom. We forget about mama in the Western world, and mama's impact and influence, and how big it is in that child's survival, in that child's life. This is just how deep it goes. When you elevate and remember how to love yourself and realize all of the ways that you could have been raised better, You could have been treated better. You could have been loved better. You can start to embody that in your own experiences. I believe that overall, the toxic cycles of relationships that we have repeat themselves when we do not realize where these patterns are coming from, which is always, it comes from home. It comes from your rearing and your raising and how you were brought up in the first relationship that you ever got to see and experience, and how that may have affected you subconsciously. So if you do have children, I empower you to really look at how you're parenting, and how, if you are a single mother, that can really help you to love yourself better, is learning and knowing how to become an amazing mother that loves your child correctly. Okay? We're not perfect just because we're a mom and we got you here. Like, it doesn't end there. Motherhood doesn't end there. Parenthood doesn't end there. It's literally becoming the best version of yourself. And I believe that sets a different standard. It sets a higher boundary for what you allow into your life. Thank you all for watching this video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think about toxic relationship cycles and breaking these cycles for your children. If you feel like it does have a lot to do with your rearing and how you were raised, the mindsets of your parents, and how that seeped into you from the trauma that they experienced around their masculinity or their femininity. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.